and welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, the podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to talk about The Acolyte. Of course we are. I'm a little late to the game on this one. I know there are a ton of people who've put out reviews already. There's already a lot of discourse happening. I will be completely honest. I stayed away from the internet for the most part, like last night. I am recording this on the 5th, so kind of the day after The Acolyte dropped. I wanted to not watch it with everyone else, give myself the chance to sort of sit down, really watch, try and approach it from, a completely just unbiased perspective, which when it's Disney is very hard because Disney really I feel like they do themselves a disservice because they lean into their marketing, like doing the promo for their shows and stuff, and inevitably someone ends up sticking their foot in their ass or, saying something dumb or doing something dumb. And of course that happened this time as well with the actor Charlie Barnett, who plays the character Yord. He went on and did an interview, talking about how Anakin Skywalker blew up the Death Star. So how evil is that to have killed all of those people? I understand. I mean, I don't understand, but they're allowed to do whatever they want. Disney clearly does not want anyone who is involved in the fan base of Star Wars to be included in Star Wars, right? Like they don't want to hire people to produce Star Wars shows or movies that know about Star Wars, that love the lore, that are in on that sort of thing. And they don't want to hire actors that are familiar with Star Wars. But at the very least, if you're going to hire people that don't know anything about Star Wars, like maybe just limit in promo what they're allowed to say, I guess. So right out of the gate, I went into The Acolyte really already kind of knowing that Yord's character was going to be one that I didn't like. And lo and behold, he made it exceptionally easy because I really just genuinely don't like the character. Like whether or not the actor had said something stupid beforehand, I don't think he is a particularly good actor. He is the character that I like the least in The Acolyte. But before we kind of jump into it, I just want to say my review on this is going to probably be pretty heavily spoilery, just because I want to be able to, I don't want to ruin it for everyone, of course, but I want to be able to explain sort of my reasoning behind why I feel the way I feel about it. Kind of hard to do, a little bit impossible to do if I'm frank, without, spoiling some details or talking about some things that happen in the show. And of course, this review, my opinion, is based only on the episodes that are available. So this is based only on 2 episodes. This is not based on the entire series. I do want to continue watching it, really more so because I have heard through the grapevine that episode 3 is kind of a Star Wars killer for some fans. And I don't know whether or not that's true, but I have heard a couple of people in sort of the marketing of the show and critics who have seen it come forward and say, if you are a hardcore Star Wars fan, episode 3 has the potential of killing Star Wars for you forever. And that has me a little bit worried, but I don't dislike The Acolyte enough at this point to not continue forward. Though I do have some critiques of it, I guess. This isn't something that I'm just like, wow, that was not great, that was not good. So The Acolyte, for anyone who is not familiar with it, obviously is the new Disney Star Wars series. And this one obviously has been hyped up with telling it, I guess, from the Sith perspective. And I will say kind of just going, or from the evil side, quote unquote evil side. And I guess going into the show, at least from the first 2 episodes, I am not sure that they are telling the story that they think that they are telling, if that makes sense. So right out of the gate, we obviously have a pretty simple story, the gist of which they gave away pretty early on. I would say in episode 1, fairly into the episode, it is given away that we have sort of 2 competing main characters, which are twin sisters, Osha and May. And both of those are played by the exact same actress, Amanda Stenberg. And I actually don't dislike her. I think I enjoy Oshi's character more than May's character, to be completely honest. Even though I know it's really meant to be around May. You are meant to like her. You're meant to understand kind of her perspective more. But I like her the least of the two of them. But one of the things that sort of aggravated me or irritated me or I found a little dumb in the show was that the two characters are twin sisters. They are obviously identical twin sisters. They hired the same actress to play both of those girls. But then in the sort of flashback, and I don't even know if they're meant to be flashbacks, if I'm completely honest, it sort of feels like some weird connection between the two sisters. I don't know if it's Force related. They haven't explained it at all in the show. But in the sort of flashback that Oshi goes and sort of sees her sister and realizes that her sister is kind of still alive, they hired two completely different actresses to play the girls when they are younger, and they don't look anything alike. So in my mind, I was like, why would you not have, if you hired the same actress to play both of these characters as adults, why would you hire two different actors to play the girls when they are young? That doesn't make sense to me. You don't go from being a fraternal twin to being an identical twin as you age. Like, that does not happen. So I was a little confused at the thought process behind that, or the decision making behind that. And there are a lot of different sort of spaces in the show where I found myself being like, well, why would you make that decision? Why is this part of the way that you're telling the story? Like, the storytelling for me is kind of consistent, I guess, with Disney Star Wars, in that I don't think it's strong storytelling. I think regardless of who the showrunner is, regardless of who is spearheading the show, they really just need to get some better writers into that writing room, or more people, I guess, that maybe aren't just yes men that say whatever is being written down in the script is perfection. Because, for instance, a friend of mine had mentioned, and I was like, oh, that makes total sense. Like, why would they do that? Like, why on the jail ship are you putting your prisoners within 2 feet of the escape pods on the ship? Why would that be the design of a jail ship? My thought process for that whole scene was like, why would you put someone on a jail ship with only robots? Like a criminal that you knew had the ability, which again also is not explained in the show, like what it is or how he's done it. But there is a criminal on the jail ship that can just control the ship. And I'm not sure exactly how he did that, like what the mechanics were. Again, that's not explained. But why would you put someone on a jail ship with no real actual people like that can control robots or can control your ship enough to like stop the pilots from piloting the ship and like open the doors and all of that stuff? Like, why would you, what is the thought process there? Like, that's what I'm talking about. And like little things like that take me out of the ability to like really enjoy the story, because it doesn't make sense, right? Like, it's too convenient. And I feel like Disney does that a lot with their Star Wars IP. For instance, in Ahsoka, Ahsoka is sitting in the water, underwater for more than 24 hours, yet she lives because that is what the plot needs to happen. You can get stabbed with a lightsaber now and you can live because that is what the plot needs to happen. Like, it's just lazy storytelling to me. It's lazy writing to me, that in the case of the Acolyte specifically, like, they have $160 million for this series, and these episodes are not long. So you have a lot of money that you can throw at this television show. Why is a bigger portion of that not going towards the script writers, not going towards making sure that you've at least ironed out so that it's a plausible story that you're telling that isn't just for convenience sake of making sure that your main characters like make it through, right? I do like a lot of the aspects of the show, but I also am irritated by a lot of the aspects of the show. So for me, I feel like I'm kind of borderline. I'm walking down the middle of it, of like, I don't think it's terrible. I am still interested in going forward with it and like seeing where they go with it. But I don't think it's amazing. Like, I don't agree with everyone that's like, this is the best Star Wars ever. I'm not there, just because of a lot of these sort of story inconsistencies or like things that I just feel like they could have done better. I really enjoy Saul. I really enjoy that character. I am going to be very irritated. Let's just say this. I'm going to be very irritated if they did all that hype work and, you know, pushed Carrie-Anne Moss onto everyone and like all of the marketing and stuff if the little space that she was in the show is all we get. I am going to need to see something else. Otherwise, what a gigantic waste of time. And like, why even bother bringing her on other than to try and draw people into the show, which I think is just, again, kind of stupid. Like, why have such an incredible actress just to not utilize that? Though I do understand, you know, obviously she is probably one of the bigger names in the show, and so she is going to have the price tag that comes along with that. But this show had an insanely high budget. So I'm confused there maybe with why they wouldn't utilize her more. So I'm hoping that what we saw of her is not all that we get to see of her, like that there is more there. There are obviously more episodes to come, so it is possible, but I would be irritated. I'd be really irritated if that was it, if it was just 2 minutes and then she's out. I will say so far there are more characters that I enjoy than characters that I don't. I really like the Padawan girl that they brought into it, whose name is going to escape me right off the top of my head. Is it Jackie? Something like that. I like her. I like the diversity of characters, and I don't mean like, oh, these characters are Asian or Black. I don't mean that in any way, shape, or form. I mean the diversity of like alien characters that they have, that not everyone is like a human looking character in the show. I think that they've done really great as far as like some creature creation stuff in this. I do enjoy that aspect a lot. I like a lot of the robotics that are in the show. The only one that I would say I don't like is the little Pip droid. And I feel like I really just don't like him because I think that he is really just there to sell merch. Like, it's really just there to sell toys. And I don't care for that sort of thing. I get it. They want to sell merchandise, yada, yada. But like, have him serve some sort of purpose, which right now, at least in the show, in the first 2 episodes, I don't feel like he serves any purpose other than merchandising. And so I'm not like super keen on that droid, but I do like some of the other ones that they've put into the show so far. Like, I like the look of it. I feel like the look of this one for me so far is the strongest of any of the Star Wars stuff that we have seen come out. Like, I like the sort of backgrounds that they're using, the cityscapes and stuff that they're using, I think is done exceptionally well. Why wouldn't it be? You know, they have the budget to do it well. I think the costuming, I'm not sure exactly how to explain it. I think in some areas there are some strengths there. Like, I really like May's costuming. I like kind of the little details and touches that they've done that feel a little bit more samurai to me. So it's different than what we typically have seen in Star Wars prior, and I enjoy that a lot. I will say, as far as like the sort of Asian kind of style of fighting that requires like a lot of the wire work, that feels a lot to me like something similar to Crouching Tiger or Hidden Dragon, that kind of stuff is not my favorite. I am more of like a very practical style of fighting, something that you would see in like maybe Mission Impossible or movies that are similar to that. Like, I like the very realistic style of fighting more so than the sort of over the top style of fighting. But I do understand where it fits in here. So I'm not like, it's not, I don't personally enjoy it, but I'm not turned off of the show by it. Like, it's to me, it's not enough to be like, oh, well, I don't like that fighting style, so I'm not going to watch anymore. Like, to me, it's just like, oh, I just don't personally enjoy it, but I still think looks decent. It's not as clunky as, for instance, oh gosh, what is that Marvel TV show that they just did where the fighting was just awful? Like, just awful. You could see that they were not making contact with each other. Like, they were feet away from each other trying to hit each other. Like, I think at least the fighting style in this is really good. I even would go as far as to say I think the fighting style in the Acolyte is better than the fighting style in Ahsoka. I think it looks a lot better. It looks a lot more choreographed. It looks like they really took the time to learn that and to do it well. Again, though, I think that there are some actors that are not great. And there are some actors that are really great. It kind of is a mix for me, a mixed bag of things that are good and things that are not good. I really, really, really do not like Yord's character. I do not know why he whips his lightsaber out every forking chance he gets. It is dumb. Like it's written in there, I think, for the use of a lightsaber, but it's not necessary in any of the moments that he's doing it. It almost sort of feels like a brand new cop, that's like just been given his very first weapon for patrol and like has to pull it out every single time he can. Like it feels like that to me. It doesn't feel like a Jedi that like has gone through years of training, is a master Jedi, understands like the patience of the Force and all of that good stuff. Like it doesn't feel like that to me. I do not like his character. I don't personally think his acting is very good. So he takes me out of it every single time I see that character on screen. But I will say I do genuinely like a lot of the other ones. So for me, it's going to be more about the story. And like I mentioned sort of at the beginning, I am not sure that they are telling the story that they think that they are telling. Like, I understand what they're trying to do here. I understand that they are pinning this pivotal moment, whatever it is that happened on the planet between May and Osha, like whatever it is that happened that took their, destroyed their planet, killed their family, whatever happened there. Obviously, they are pinning that on the Jedi. Like, that is they've done that already. They've given that away to the audience, that we are meant to know that the Jedi have caused this terrible thing, right? But you cannot, if what you're trying to say is like the Jedi are not this force of good and the Sith were not this like incredible force of evil and, we're meant to sort of understand them better. To me, you're not telling this story correctly in order to do that. Because if you are saying that this entire group of Jedi, right, did this terrible, horrible thing and killed all of these people in the name of justice or in the name of, the Jedi Order, or of doing the right thing or of doing good, and then you turn around and just murder everyone, you're still the bad guy. Like, you're still the bad guy. Like, that's not, revenge does not somehow make you the good guy. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just go and be like, I'm going to murder you all for murdering my family. That's not how it works. Like, we have sort of set up, and I feel like hopefully there would be this in sort of a High Republic Jedi situation, that there would be this accountability. And I don't know if the whole point is supposed to be that the Jedi Council and stuff have been corrupted by their own idea of goodness, that these Jedi who caused this terrible event wouldn't be held to a standard or wouldn't be held accountable. And so your only option is revenge. But so far, just in the first 2 episodes, I haven't seen that. Like, we haven't seen that. So from the perspective of just the first 2 episodes, it feels very much like I am not the bad guy because a bad thing was done to me first. So murder is then justifiable. And that still makes you evil. In my mind, that still makes you evil. That doesn't make you a good person. It is, more so like vigilante justice, but we haven't seen yet what the Jedi have done. It's been kind of alluded to, but it doesn't also seem like all of the Jedi were complicit in this event, because Saul, at least at this point, doesn't seem like he has guilt in what has been done. So, but some of the other, the man that she tries to kill kind of before Saul gets to her does seem to have that guilt. So I'm kind of confused there in the storytelling. Again, we're just on first 2 episodes, so a lot of this can be ironed out. A lot of this can be changed. But I would say for me, with the Acolyte, my personal perspective is that this is still kind of just the same level of Disney Star Wars that we have gotten so far. There isn't anything in the Acolyte thus far in just the first 2 episodes that I'm like, this is incredible, and I have sort of the hope of Disney Star Wars improving from here on out. I think a lot of it is just still kind of the same as what we have previously gotten, and that doesn't do much for me. But I am, at least with the Acolyte, enjoying it enough to be willing to like sit and watch the remainder of it. I think it's going to depend on kind of how the series goes. Again, like I mentioned, that episode 3, because people have sort of dropped the bomb of that one, could really just like ruin what people think of Star Wars and all of that stuff. I am nervous. I will be completely honest. I am very nervous that is going to be the moment for me that I like step away from Star Wars and stop watching Star Wars content that comes out from Disney. And I'm hoping that's not the case. I'm hoping that people are just exaggerating and that I can watch the rest of the series and that it is just, you know, what it is. And I either continue to think it's okay, or it improves, or it gets worse, or whatever happens. But I'm hoping that there is not this like make it or break it episode that happens. I have also heard that they do like one sort of flashback episode that doesn't really feel like it has the continuity with the rest of the story. And, you know, the story right now is a little bit on the slower end. So I'm kind of not sure how I feel about having an entire episode that feels like it's going to slow it down more as opposed to propelling that story. But right now I'm intrigued. I'm not in the hate camp and I'm not in the super love camp, but I'm definitely intrigued by what's going on. I'm not really sure kind of how I feel about it. There are some things that irritate me. There are some things I really enjoy. So I'm kind of right in the middle with the Acolyte so far. But yeah, for me, I don't have like a definitive opinion of it because we are really just 2 episodes in, and I'm not sure I will have a definitive opinion unless something major happens that like ruins it for me, or something major happens that improves it for me. But I will have to see more at this point with the Acolyte for sure. So those are really kind of my thoughts around the Acolyte. I would love to know what you guys are thinking of this one so far. If you've watched the first 2 episodes, subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode.